Welcome back to another episode of the Dead Air Records podcast. My name is Jess.
And I'm Mark.
And we are your hosts and also the owners of Dead Air Records, which is an independent record shop based right here in Liverpool. You're joining us today for the second of a festive special of the podcast, and we're super excited and really grateful to have Andy McCluskey here from Orchestral Manoeuvres in the Dark. Andy, thank you so much for joining us.
You're very welcome. Happy to be here.
Wonderful. So we're really excited to walk through your journey, through OMD, your songwriting, and everything from the beginning up until now, really.
How long have you got?
Well, it's a festive special, so we're here for as long as you've got the time for us. Thank you.
Cool. We like to start at the beginning and go from there, but we're happy to follow whatever stories and wherever they go. So
let's kick us off. So, Andy, what are some of your earliest memories of music?
Oh, going right back, it would be... my mother had quite a cool 7-inch record collection. In particular, I remember the Beatles and the Kinks. Lots of Beatles and Kinks. Nice. And she did also have Rodgers and Hammerstein musicals. So things like Oklahoma. And for some reason, from the age of about 6 or 7, in this sort of fake baritone voice, I started singing, "Oh, what a beautiful morning." Fortunately, I didn't do the jazz hands again until stage performing. But so I was singing just for my own amusement from a very, very young age. And they would be my earliest kind of musical memories. And then obviously, you watch Top of the Pops, and then you get a cassette recorder and you're trying to record the ones that you like. I think the first album I ever bought, it's a pretty cool album actually. The first album I ever bought was David Bowie's Ziggy Stardust.
Let's go.
Wow, that is a very cool first album to have. Normally, sometimes it can be like an embarrassing admission, but that's very good.
Yeah. So no, I got together all of my pocket money and walked from Mells, where I grew up, to Hoylake. There was a Woolworths there, and I bought that album. I mean, back in the old days, Woolworths were where most people bought their singles, particularly on a Saturday. It's like some crazy, it's like 40% of the singles sales were sold in Woolworths on a Saturday.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That must have been quite a collecting of just everyone going in and that vibe about and that buzz.
Yeah. I mean, years later, I was to find out if Woolworths didn't stock you, you weren't going to chart.
Crazy. Was there a moment where it shifted from just listening to wanting to make music for yourself?
I had some friends at school who were starting to be in bands round about the age we were like 15, and it was just talk. But one guy had a bass guitar, and I was like, oh, I really like the weight of it, and it was a very sexy shape. Yeah. But since he had a bass, I thought, well, all right, I'll be the drummer.
Nice.
Could not afford a drum kit at all. And to be honest, in my house, we had one through lounge. There was 3 kids, several greyhounds, and my mother was a home hairdresser. It just, finding space for a drum kit as well, no. So, couldn't afford a drum kit. Tried 6-string guitar. It hurt like hell. My fingers hurt.
Yeah.
So, in the end, I just got a bass and decided, well, I can't be in his band, I'll have to start another band.
Nice.
And I used to walk around the park in Mells with my bass over my shoulder, as you do.
Yeah.
Not in a case. And Paul Humphreys, who I'd been to primary school with, but he was in the year below me, knocked on my door one day and said, "You've got a bass guitar." I went, "How did you know?" I've seen you in the park. And he had some friends who I didn't know, because we went to different schools by then. And he just said, "My friends are in a band called Equinox, and they're looking for a bass player. Do you want to join?" Name. Yeah, they want to join. So I joined Equinox for a while, and it was god awful, kind of 70s rock, with 2 guitars that were out of tune with each other. You've heard early bands like that. It's just, and it was fun, but it was rubbish. And then Paul was the roadie, because he was into electronics.
Interesting.
Yeah, and the first gig we ever played was at Hilbury High School in West Kirby. They all went to Hilbury, and by this time I had a Marshall bass head, and it blew a fuse, and so Paul took the fuse out, wrapped it in the metallic paper out of a cigarette packet, and pushed it back in, but it wouldn't fit because it was wrapped. So he had to, whilst we played on stage, he had to sit behind, like, holding the fuse in. I mean, health and safety, holding the fuse in. And we played 2 songs, one of which I wrote called Lady of the Waters, which was just about my mate who was always in the bath. And we were shit.
Right.
But that was my first ever gig.
That's amazing. And so, it's like you met Paul way back then, and you've been...
Paul and I went to primary school from the age of 7, but we were in different classes.
Right.
So we go back that far,
Wow.
but it wasn't until then, when he knocked on the door, that we started thinking about anything musical.
That's great. So when then did you move into... when did he stop being the roadie and you two start working together?
Because we lived in Mells, and all the others lived in Greasby. I mean, it's only 3 miles away, but bus fare was expensive.
Yeah.
We started to sort of get a little bit of a thing going where I'd go round to his on a Saturday afternoon if the band wasn't going to rehearse, and I will have gone to Liverpool to Probe Records.
Yes. The legendary Probe.
Probe Records it is a stepping stone in everybody's story, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
I would go to the German import section because I had by that stage heard Autobahn by Kraftwerk, and I would just get my either my pocket money or my newspaper round money, buy a record. But Paul had built a stereo.
Right.
I only had my mother's mono Dansette record player.
Right. And he built it.
He made himself a stereo. And so I would take my records around to his house, and we would listen to Kraftwerk and Neu and Can and those kind of things.
Interesting.
And I started to educate him because he was into things like Queen and the Beatles, but largely because he had a much older brother,
Yeah,
But, So we just started listening to that, and then he said, "Well, I might try and make some machines that make noises and we can do our own music." So he started cannibalising his auntie's radios with the circuit boards and just making things. Literally, they were called noise machines.
Wow.
Unfortunately, they were battery operated because he didn't have a keyboard. He just used to play them by connecting his fingers on the circuit boards at random. And then we shoved them through fuzz boxes and echo machines. And the early stuff, when he was 15, I was 16, was just really, really ambient stuff because that's all we could do. I had my bass, by the way, was a left-handed bass.
Interesting. Right.
The only one I could afford when I went to Park Selling Services by Birkenhead Park Station was a pawn shop and second-hand shop. The only one I could afford was the left-handed one. So I just turned it over and learned with the strings upside down.
Wow.
And I still play with the strings upside down now.
Wow.
Because once I'd learnt upside down, I couldn't
You
go
couldn't
back.
go back.
So yeah.
I love giving my bass guitar to people.
Yeah.
Because they just go, what the... That's wrong. What's wrong with it? I don't know. It's wrong. I had my upside down bass, and we just made these rumbly ambient noises and things. Fortunately, his mother was out working at the local shop on a Saturday. So,
right.
The neighbours didn't seem to complain. So that's what we did for about 6 months until Paul got an old Vox Jaguar organ and a Selmer Pianotron, which I've only ever seen one of, and we had it.
Wow.
It was like a plinky-plonk electric piano thing.
Nice.
So, and then we actually started to write songs.
Right. Oh, that's interesting. So, take us back to like the Wirral in the mid-70s. What was it like for like young musicians starting out? Was it just a black hole, or was there a burgeoning scene? Or?
Yeah, it was. Everybody was. Excuse me. Long hair, flared trousers, and aspiring to be Deep Purple or Genesis or something, but didn't sound anything like it.
Yeah.
And I include myself and Paul Like that. I mean, even by 1978, when we started OMD, we still looked like a pair of unreconstructed hippies. We looked terrible.
That's awesome.
Lots of youth clubs.
Right.
So bands used to play in youth clubs. And so I was in Equinox, played a couple of youth clubs. Then it started to disintegrate. We started another band called The Id.
Right.
And then Paul joined that band as a keyboard player. And we're still only like 16.
Wow.
Playing in and then a friend of ours from the other side of the Wirral, a guy called Adrian Pratt, who's an amazing musician. He had created with his crazy friends a band called Hitler's Underpants.
That's it.
That's a strong name.
There's some great names.
This is great. Yeah.
And the first incarnation of Hitler's Underpants played the youth club that we used to go to on Friday, and it was just bonkers. They were great fun. And then there was another incarnation, but by that stage, Aid had decided he'd got God and wanted to be a preacher.
Wow.
So he didn't want to be in this band anymore. So Paul joined on keyboards, and I joined on bass. And we played one gig, it was Hitler's Underpants 2 at the same youth club. And I seem to remember there was 3 girls called the Shameless Hussies who were wearing fishnet tights and suspenders and whipped the audience. It was quite remarkable.
Wow.
And it was bloody awful.
Yeah.
We were chronically. I managed to borrow 2 4x12 bass cabs. All you could hear was bass guitar on stage. It was shocking.
Yeah.
It was shocking. So we did that, and then we just we were starting to go to Eric's by that stage.
Yeah.
Eric's had just opened, and we were starting to listen to more interesting music that was not just German import music. And every week at Eric's there was at least one cool band, if not 3 a week. It was just the most amazing place.
From the people that we've spoken to so far during the podcast, the importance of Eric's, it just comes up every single time. Can you tell us a bit about like what it was like back then and sort of how important it was to the counterculture?
It was a sub-basement.
Yeah.
Right across the road diagonally across the road from the Cavern. And like the Cavern, you had to go down 2 sets of steps. The first set of steps just led to, I think it was maybe the cloakroom or something, and then the bottom was the basement. You went in, and there was the bar area and the toilets to your left. The bar area was slightly lower than the performance area. There was just a 4 or 5 inch ramp as you walked through the 2 archways to get into the main area. Now, it could hold 800.
Wow.
But that was like sardines.
Really?
It was like, I mean, they wouldn't let more than 300 in there now.
Right.
And you probably also heard that because it was in Matthew Street, which is one of the inlets off the old Liverpool, the muddy pool that came up Whitechapel, when it was really raining and the tide was high, the toilets would overflow.
Wow.
And the bar area would have like 1 or 2 inches of just water in it, toilet water.
Wow.
So you tiptoe through there, you forget your drink, you tiptoe through there, go into the performance area and stay dry because it had this just slightly higher. Yeah. I don't remember ever seeing any Mersey trout floating around in there, but it was just toilet water and you didn't want to be in it.
Oh, wow. Poor bar staff.
Yeah, but everybody was there.
Yeah.
Everybody was there. I mean, obviously, number 1 was Jane Casey. She was the queen.
Yeah.
I mean, she just looked incredible. It frightened the hell out of me, but she looked incredible.
Yeah.
And the Prince was Holly Johnson.
Yeah.
And then there was just everybody. I mean, I remember Will in his motorcycle jacket.
Yeah.
I remember Mac with his hair everywhere. And Les and Paul Simpson and Pete Burns.
Wow.
And other people who weren't in bands, but like Boxhead was there. He always used to seem to be helping people out roading, probably because he got in for free. I don't know.
Nice.
was just everybody who was in Eric's was in a band or was going to be in a band.
Yeah.
And it was the most amazing place. I mean, I saw Devo's first gig there, and we got in late, but we knew if we went down the back, there was just another sort of like a foot high second stage that they sold. We thought we'd get right at the back, we'd just see the flower pot heads. I saw Per Ubu there. They were amazing. So I must have seen them about 3 times. XTC, on possibly the best gig I ever saw in Eric's was the first XTC gig.
Wow.
With Barry Andrews on keyboards. The Cure. I mean, it was just, obviously, you know, Joy Division, Alberto, we lost Trios Paranoias. The best heckling put down I've ever heard off the stage was from him going, "You what, mate? No, you what? Say it again. You what, mate? No, I can't hear you. That's full of shit." It was everybody went there.
Yeah.
That was the place you went, and I mean, fortunately, we were accepted, even though we were A, from the wrong side of the river, and B, I had a white boy afro and Paul looked like Roger Hodgson out of Supertramp with his white flared loons. We ditched that quite quickly. The first gig of us at Eric's, he's still wearing his white loons and I've got my afro.
So this is 1978, right?
This is 78.
Tell us a bit about the first date.
Well, the ID played Eric's.
Oh, right. Okay.
On Thursday night was local band night. You know, again, they had a policy of putting bands on, so you could get on at Eric's, which was just an incredible opportunity because it was on the circuit. You know, you could phone up the Sounds gig guide or the NME gig guide and say, you know, we're playing Eric's in Liverpool. Oh, right. Oh, yeah, we'll put you in then. Yeah,
wow.
That counted. That was important. Not like saying you know, playing, you know, the pub round the corner. Oh, we're not going to print that. And so we'd played there in the summer of 78. And then everybody in the ID was going to university.
Right.
And I was supposed to go to do a fine art degree at Leeds. And Paul was supposed to go to London to do an apprenticeship with sort of in telecommunications because he did the electronics. And we just kind of felt like we had unfinished business. We didn't want to go. So I took a gap year. Paul didn't tell his mother he'd got this interview.
Wow.
She would have killed him because the reason she worked on a Saturday afternoon was because she was a widow.
Right.
Paul lost his dad when he was 2 and his sister when he was 7. And Joan, his mum, worked 6 days a week in the newsagents. She can't have earned much money, but that's why we could rehearse on a Saturday because she wasn't at home.
Right.
So she would have killed him if she found out that he turned down his job offer.
That's right.
Who did finally tell her about 10 years later. She forgave him after the band was successful.
It's like now's a good time to.
And it was just the summer of 78. The ID stopped, and Dave Balfe, who would go on to form Zoo Records with Bill Drummond. Dave Balfe was in a band from the other side of the river called Dalek I Love You. And he said, listen, our singer Alan is a good singer, but he's not loud enough on stage. Would you sing with us? Oh. So for about 4 gigs in the summer of 78, I worked with Dalek I Love You, and their songs were great.
Right.
Their songs were brilliant. I mean, in fact, we used to play one of their songs when we toured with our first album called Two Chameleons because we didn't have enough songs in the set.
Right.
And I mean, the first time I ever heard of Dave Balfe was actually our rehearsal room above the fish shop in Hoylake had our drum kit nicked. Wow. And our drummer was walking past the shop in Liverpool down on near across the road from Probe, actually, and he went, "That's my snare drum."
Oh,
and he went in there, and the guy said, "Oh yeah, we're just selling it for somebody called David Balfe."
Oh no!
Oh yeah, so Balfe robbed our drums.
No.
Yeah,
Balfe.
Dodgy bunch of bastards they were, I tell you. Yeah, so we've forgiven him by that. And so I joined Dalek I Love You, which was great. We played at Kirkland's on Hardman Street, which now is the is it the Mouse in the Loaf or something? And
Right.
beautiful big glass window. And it was great because, I mean, because they were as mad as us in terms of kind of doing art performance music. The last song was all on the tape recorder.
Right.
And we were miming, and one by one we put our instruments down and walked off stage and stood in the audience watching. It was kind of, it was performance art.
That's
It
cool.
was, you know,
Yeah.
teenagers being pretentious.
I love it. I think it's great. Yeah, yeah.
But because they weren't my songs in the end, so Paul and I decided that, inspired by the fact that also in the summer of '78, this song came on in Eric's. I'm pretty sure it was Norman Killen was DJing that day. And I just went, what the fuck is that? And Paul went, that is amazing. Went over to Norman and said, what is that? And he just held up the sleeve and I went, it's English, Mute Records, The Normal. I went back to Paul, that's English. It was Daniel Miller.
Wow.
And it was Warm Leatherette. And it was just, I'd never heard anything like it in my life.
Yeah.
I just went, somebody in England is doing what we want to do. We need to do some, we need to be a band, just you and me.
Yeah.
Get rid of the guitars, get rid of the drums, just you and me. Do it the way we've been writing songs for the last few years. And even if it's just to do one gig, say we'd done one gig. So that was it. I'd done the Dalek thing, everybody had gone away, the band was finished, and we just thought, all right, let's not go to university, or at least let's do one gig before we go to university. And so, Thursday, October the 12th, 1978, we played Eric's, and we knocked on the door of the office at Eric's and said, hi, Andy and Paul from the Id, because the Id had played there in the summer. And we were so relieved that it was Pete Fulwell.
Right.
Because most people probably say Roger Eagle scared the fuck out of everybody.
Really?
He was like a 7-foot-tall, chain-smoking Mexican bandit who just going, that's my impression anyway.
That's great.
He did an amazing job for Liverpool music, but he was scary.
Right.
And it was Pete Fulwell, and we just, what do you want to? Could just the two of us do our electronic music on a Thursday night? I went, what do you call it? I went, we haven't got a name. You thought you'd tell us to get lost. So we rushed back home and looked on my bedroom wall, and I used to write things on my wall. We just found Orchestral Manoeuvres in the Dark. It was a potential song title. We thought, right, two of us with a tape recorder playing songs that even our mates think are shit. We need a weird name here. Of course, everybody else in Liverpool was also thinking at that time, we need a weird name here. So in the end, we didn't have, our name wasn't weirder than most of the other Liverpool band names. But that was it, just one off. And we supported John Dowie, who was a comedian who had already been signed to Factory Records.
Interesting.
And there was 30 people in the crowd. And Eric's used to have, there were some pillars in the middle that sort of divided to take the weight of the roof. And when it was empty, as it usually was on a Thursday night, nobody would come in front of the pillars.
Right.
There was like this no man's land between you and about 15 feet away. And you could see the only people who were there, apart from a couple of family and friends, were all the other people in bands.
Wow.
All leaning on the pillars going, come on then. Impress us.
Nice.
We've seen you in the club. What are you going to do? And you just knew that, you stand on stage, and it was probably the most terrifying I've ever been on stage, apart from when Kraftwerk came to this a few years later. But it was just all these Liverpool people who were going to become famous artists.
Yeah. And
they're all just going, they're shite really compared to us, aren't they? Shite.
Yeah.
It was terrifying, but we did it, and the guys at Eric's just said, well, the guy you played with is on Factory. They've got a club in Manchester. We've got a reciprocal arrangement. Would you like to go and play at the Factory? So we went, well, all right, we'll do 2 gigs then.
Wow.
And 3 weeks later, we went down to the Russell Club, which was named the Factory once every month or something. And we met that man off the telly, Tony Wilson.
Wow.
And we met Alan Erasmus, and we met Peter Saville. But we didn't know they had a record company at the time. It was just this venue. So we played there, And then we saw the Human League on Granada Reports, because Tony was on.
Tony was doing the Granada Reports.
And we just thought, well, we've met him last week. Why don't we just send him a tape and see if we can get on the telly?
Wow.
We've got no chance, but why not?
Yeah.
And then a couple of weeks later, we get a phone call from Tony saying, I've started a record company called Factory, and would you be interested in making a record? Did you come down to Granada Studios and talk to him? And be like, okay. And this was like, this was like 4 weeks after we played our one-off gig.
That's crazy.
We've got Factory Records talking to us about, do we want to make a record?
Like, when you look back at that now, that's insane.
We were just jammy bastards.
Yeah.
I mean, it was unbelievable. It's who you know and where you go, and doors opening for you.
So tell us a bit more about Tony Wilson then.
He was that man off the telly.
Yeah.
It's like, woo, first famous person I think I'd ever seen.
Wow.
He was charming. And one of the funny things about Tony is that he was as sort of lovey and charming in person as he appeared to be on the TV. I think a lot of people found him sort of not genuine, a bit obsequious, but he actually was a really nice guy. And he did call everybody love. The funny thing was that we didn't know until some time later, and we thought it was some kind of apocryphal story, but it turned out to be true. And we met his wife 5 years ago when we did our 40th anniversary book, Lindsay Reed, and she confirmed that the story was true. And we're like, oh my God, we thought this was just a myth. She got in the car, and in the footwell of the passenger seat, there was just a shopping bag that was full of cassettes. And she said, oh, what's all the cassettes? And she said, oh, love, I'm just taking this with a tip. It's people who sent me cassettes for Get on the TV or the new record company. I'm just going to dump them. She said, oh, okay. Pulled out a cassette and he went, Orchestral Manoeuvres in the Dark, that's a strange name. And he went, oh, they played the club the other week. Hairy guys from Liverpool, things about electricity. Not for me at all. And she just put it in, and on came Electricity.
Such a great song.
Thank you. And she just went, that's a hit, love. And he went, no, they're hairy. And, no, it's not rock, it's not authentic, it's not rock music. And she went, yeah, but that's a hit. And you are starting a label to develop artists, to sell on, get some money. He said, that's a hit, they'll make you money. He went, yeah, all right, well, maybe that's a... He patted her patronising on the thigh and went, I'll sign them for you, darling.
Wow.
We weren't aware of this conversation. The next week, we meet Tony at Granada.
Yeah.
And Tony was famous for being able to change his mind. The next week, he was like, you are the future of pop.
Amazing.
We're like, okay, but don't call us pop. We're experimental.
Nice.
We thought we were. He said, you should be on top of the pops, but I can't get you there, but I can get you to a major. We're going to release a record, get it on John Peel, everybody will hear about you, and we'll get you a record contract. And this apparently was the formula for Factory. Peter Saville subsequently told me we were the only band that followed their blueprint, which was to develop an artist, sell them, get an override or get 10K or something, and then redevelop the next, little idea for your record label.
Yeah.
That was the plan. Just, get one, make people listen to them, sell them on, reinvest.
Yeah.
And so we recorded Electricity and the B-side Almost. Peter Saville did this incredible black-on-black thermograph sleeve, and those things now are worth 150 quid if you can find them.
Yeah, very sought after.
And that's when I realised that I'm not going to design the sleeves, because I had plans to design the sleeves, having done art.
Yeah.
But once I met Peter, I went, nah, he's the man. We released Electricity on Factory, and it was one of the most amazing feelings in my life, actually holding a 7-inch vinyl record going, this is our record.
That's crazy.
We wrote this song when we were 16, and now, 3 years later, it's a record.
Yeah.
It was just an incredible sensation. I'll never forget that sensation. Wow. And John Peel played it every night, and it sold out that week. And the next thing we got a phone call from a major label in London.
That's crazy how quickly that happened.
Yeah, and this is now 6 months after we did our one-off gig.
Starting to think maybe this isn't...
We didn't really pay our dues, you know. We weren't up and down the M6 in a Ford Transit for 5 years.
Yeah.
We didn't pay our dues.
That's amazing.
Wow. And then what came next is, I was reading that, I love the story that when you did get that record deal with a major, you took that advance and you put that into creating your own record studio. So you had something as a foundation to always come back to. And then, what was the thinking behind that?
Budgeting for failure.
Yeah.
We thought nobody in their right mind is going to buy our record. Because at the time, it was still considered to be weird and alternative. You know, I mean, we were not the most popular band at Eric's because we were from the other side of the river and we were doing electronic music, whereas everybody else was playing guitars.
Yeah.
Admittedly, they were doing it in a very distinctive style, and we can talk about one of the Eric's bands if you want, but because we should, because it was incredible. But we just thought, right, well, they're going to give us this money. I mean, our manager had the tape recorder we used on stage, a recording studio in the garage, and he had a van because he worked for Vision Hire. So he became the manager because he had all these things we needed.
Yeah.
We were playing at the Imperial Ballroom in Blackpool.
Right.
I don't know when it was, June or July of '79. So still not long after we'd. And we'd had a meeting with this lady called Carol Wilson, who had just started a label called Dindisc, which was a subsidiary of Virgin, because I think she was a lawyer. And Richard Branson said, I want to start a publishing company. You don't have to know anything about publishing. I just need somebody who knows how to do it legally. Right. So she started Virgin Publishing.
Wow.
Just happened before he was famous to sign Sting, and so made Branson a killing.
Wow.
So as a thank you, he said, well, what would you like? She said, I'd like a record label. So she started her own record label. This is how crazy things were in those days. And she started this label that apparently was Norwegian for your record, Dindisc. And she had got the 7-inch on factory. She came up to see us again in Paul's mum's back room on a Saturday when she sat on the sofa, and we played our entire set of songs, which was probably 7.
She's got the full picture.
Gigs were very short in those days, you know. Nobody's on stage for all the 25 minutes because you didn't have enough songs.
Yeah.
And she just went, oh, that's great. Yeah, thank you very much. And we thought, oh, we'll never see her again. A couple of weeks later, Imperial Ballroom in Blackpool, supporting Joy Division and Certain Ratio were there. We'd just come off stage and we were packing up the Vision Hire van, and Carol turns up and she's, oh, God, bloody motorway traffic, you know, it's a holiday, bank holiday. We're on our way to Scotland. We wanted to get here and say, no, we've just come off stage. Oh, well, listen, anyway, I'm sorry I didn't see you. Read this on the way home. Right. So it was my turn to be in the front seat. Humphreys is in the back, sitting on the equipment, so it doesn't roll around. And obviously, our manager, Paul, is driving. It's his van. Yeah. And so we start driving. I pull down the thing beside the light on. Oh. Well, if I'm reading this right, it's a 7-album recording contract with publishing attached as well. And they're offering us 30,000 for both for the first album. And the whole thing adds up to, on 7 albums, like, about $250,000. I'm surprised we didn't fucking crack.
I love getting that information from the light of the dashboard as well.
Driving home, going back towards the metro, going, I think it's a record contract and they're offering us these kind of crazy numbers.
Down the M55.
Yeah, down the M55. So we just thought, right, nobody's going to buy our records. Let's build a studio so that when we don't sell any records, we'll have our own studio. Yeah. That was the thinking. And we, there used to be quite a lot of music shops around Whitechapel. There was Rushworth's on one side, and then just at the bottom of Stanley Street, there was Hesse's and Curly Music, and they had a split doorway into one building, which was the Montreal building. It was a lot of the sort of 5-6 story warehouses were named after cities and things. Wow. Maybe that's where the stuff came from. But we talked to the people in Curly, and all the other floors were empty and derelict. Right. And we just said, well, could we have half of your back floor to build a studio? What's the rent? £25 a week. Okay.
Goes into the budget.
And we just started clearing this place, and the windows looked out down onto the White Star pub.
Wow.
And Probe Records.
That's mental.
Right there on Rainford Gardens.
Wow.
And yeah, we spent, I think, 2 weeks building the studio, and 3 weeks recording our album. And in fact, actually, somebody had robbed the lead off the roof on the top floor.
Right.
And bit by bit, the water was coming down the floors, and Curly hadn't got round to getting the roof fixed. And so the last song that we recorded was the last song that's on our first album, called Pretending to See the Future.
Yeah.
And if you solo the lead voice, you could hear the water dripping into these 8 buckets that were around me.
Wow.
Because the water was now coming down into our room.
No way. Oh.
But I mean, it's a real. That first album is a real garage recording. I mean, it was. We didn't know what we were doing, but we were going to make it in our studio.
It's a great record.
Its naive sound probably gives it a charm.
It's
now.
definitely a charming record. I mean, you know, it's just got hit after hit as well. This is the thing. I listened to that record, and you know, it's just great song after great song, and for that to be a debut. It's just and in the situation you're describing, it's crazy. And then, you know, we want to go through the albums one at a time, but as you said, like before we do, maybe we could talk a bit about your contemporaries during that time. For people who don't know, who were the bands who were surrounding you at the time in Liverpool?
I think 3 weeks after we played our first gig, Echo and the Bunnymen and Teardrop Explodes played their first gig together.
Wow.
I think it was some party for some medical students or something. I don't know what I remember. But they play. I mean, the Bunnymen basically invented themselves to do that gig, and they played one song. It was 12 minutes long.
Yeah.
I think that was the day they actually found out that Mac could sing.
Right.
I think Will said we never actually heard him sing. He just said he could.
Right.
And you know, it was. Slowly but surely, you know, there was us, there was Dalek, I Love You, there was the Bunnies and the Teardrops, and then, you know, there was, everybody was in a band. You know? I mean, and Pete Wiley was there. He used to walk around Eric's with a Gibson Les Paul, which he definitely swore blind that Joe Strummer gave him. Nobody was ever going to contradict him. And obviously Pete Burns was there.
Yeah.
Getting more and more bizarre looking as time went by. The hair got bigger, the eye patch was on.
Nice.
I mean, Pete obviously used to work in Probe Records with his black contact lenses and just stare you out.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, people went in there to buy records and he'd just look at them like, really? And they go, okay, it's not cool, is it? I won't buy it.
It's so good.
Like it's a rite of passage if you could get like an acceptance of, you can buy that.
It was just, it was an incredible collection of people who... we were still the outsiders. I mean, we knew these people, we talked to them, but we weren't their friends because we were just, I think we felt we were a little bit other side of the river doing electronic stuff. But there was a sort of grudging respect between them. And we were all in the same boat. We were all a bunch of kids. I mean, we were all 18, 19 with no money and mad ideas. The great thing about Eric's was there wasn't really a punk band. It was all mad kind of art bands, or you know, lead singers who were poets. Really, just that's why all the bands had crazy names.
Yeah,
it was just all of the weird outsider people found a place to go to.
That's so cool.
You know, it was like they built it and we came.
Yeah,
and you know, and without Eric's, that community would not have had its opportunity to express itself.
Yeah.
So this is why, I'm 66 now, but anybody who does anything for music at grassroots level in Liverpool is to be championed and applauded, because you need people at ground level, It's
For sure.
And you need somebody to say, come on in here, you can play here, and we'll do this, and we've got a 4-track studio. Do you want to do a demo? Just anything, anything that lets people get a little onto a ladder.
Yeah, we're very passionate about that. We believe that. Like, we were both in bands growing up, weren't we? And we understand the importance of
just opportunity and creative space.
Yeah.
And having space to kind of express yourself in that artistic way. So I guess having a studio in that scene, in that position in the city, and having that creative space, that must have played such a big part in the creation of that first album. And I believe the second album as well was recorded partly there.
It was, it was a 16-track, and it was. I mean, we finally divided the main room into an office and studio. And the control room was actually above the staircase. It had been one of the toilets on that floor.
Yeah,
it was a very small room with tiles on it, and we had the biggest JBL speakers in there. It was deafening. But yeah, I mean, we made that first album in there. Peter Saville made an incredible sleeve for it.
It's beautiful.
That blue and orange with the lozenges cut in it. I mean, cost us a bloody fortune.
Really?
Peter Saville introduced me to 2 words: packaging deduction.
Right.
Any record company that could take a packaging deduction off you, because it wasn't just a standard sleeve, they had to put cut holes in.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they would take more money back off you. Packaging deduction. But I'm sure that at least 50% of the people who bought that album bought it for the sleeve.
The sleeve is wonderful.
Because the sleeve would you'd see it across the room, and you just go like, what's that? I want to know what that is.
It stands
because
out.
it looked like nothing else.
Yeah.
You haven't got one.
We haven't got one.
I know.
We haven't got one, but we will put it on screen. Yeah.
I mean, it was stunning.
Yeah.
Electricity was released again and again. It was released like 3 times, and everybody knows that song.
Yeah.
And assumes it must have been a hit. It never got higher than like 92 in the charts.
Wow.
I know.
That's crazy.
But it was just... But that song was the calling card. That was the one that everybody knew. And it was like... It was a catchy melody.
Yeah.
But accidentally, we thought we were being experimental, but we'd written this melody.
Yeah.
And then we tried Red Frame White Light about the telephone box.
Yeah.
That got to 60-something. It was like, woo. And then the record company said, do you think maybe if we polish the sound of it, we might do better?
Wow.
So we went into the studio with a producer, Mike Howlett, who'd been the bass player in a prog rock band called Gong.
Yes, Gong. Yeah.
And who I, in fact, had seen play at the Liverpool Stadium when it was raining, and he was standing trying to get out of the way of the rain. And we went into a studio, and we went to Advision, and we re-recorded messages.
Right.
And I had such demo-itis, I didn't like the sound of it at all.
Really?
But the record company were absolutely sure it was this sounds more professional. This sounds like it, it can go on the radio. And yeah, the 3rd single became our first hit.
That's crazy. Right.
And yeah, without ever getting higher than, I think, 27 in the charts, the first album went gold because it just kept selling.
That's
just
so
kept
good.
growing. Obviously, Messages, we did our first Top of the Pops.
Wow.
It was...
And this is, again, in no time whatsoever. Like, it's escalated very quickly from 78, now we're in 1980.
Yeah, so basically it was our first Top of the Pops was 17 months after the one-off gig. That's great. Just say With the Stupid Name.
Wow.
Of course, 79, this kid in London who was working... what was the record store he was in? Can't remember. He bought Electricity and loved it. And then he found a polymoog in the studio when he was doing an album and changed the sound of his band to be electronic. Gary Numan.
No way.
And had 2 hits in the summer in '79. And of course, people like us and the Human League were like, "Hang on, where did he come from?
Yeah, he's just come out of
We've
nowhere.
been doing this for a year now. That's not fair." But because he'd bought electricity, he just, and he wanted to have this massive stage set, and he went, "I've seen them play at the Nashville Rooms.
No way.
With Joy Division. They're a 2-piece. They'll fit in front of our." So it was it worked for us. He invited us to go on tour with him in whenever it was, September of '79, and we did that tour, sell out of all of the big theatres in the country. And he said, "Listen, we'll do your catering, we'll carry you on our coach, we'll take your equipment." Even his bodyguard used to introduce us on stage. His mother ironed our shirts for us because she took pity on us because we looked so dishevelled. And I meet so many people who say, "First time I ever saw you, we were supporting Gary Numan in '79. Wow. So Gary was so kind to us. And then, of course, exactly a year later, we made our second album at the Gramophone Suite, even though we called it the Gramophone Suite. It's very pretentious. And Messages had been a hit in the spring of 1980. We released 2 albums in the same year.
Organisation,
literally about 9 months apart from each other.
So February and October. I think.
Yeah. And Enola Gay was the lead single, and it just went bang.
Yeah.
And then we played all the theatres that we'd seen Gary do the year before, which I'm glad we had, because we didn't have to. We'd seen it without having to be the headline act. So it was. Everything just went so fast.
Yeah.
It was crazy. And we'd gone back into the studio and started writing. We'd gone to New York and played some gigs in New York, where we didn't even have enough money. They just wanted us to come over because they'd heard the first album, and we played 2 gigs in Hurrahs, and we didn't have enough money for hotels. So all of the barmaids kind of went, "Oh, he's cute, he can stay with me." And that's how Paul met his first wife.
No way.
Yes. Paul had got married that summer. We'd made an album. The second album came out, and our feet just weren't touching the ground. It was absolutely crazy.
Organisation took a different tone, more industrial, darker maybe. Can you talk us through that and where the inspiration came from?
The first album was really all the songs we'd been writing from like 16 to 18. So it was kind of like garage synth pop. It was very light. We didn't realise how poppy it was at the time, because everybody told us it was weird, because it was unusual.
Yeah.
And then I think the second album, I'm convinced that it was Joy Division.
Right.
The sound of Joy Division. We were just like, they sound so cool.
Yeah.
I mean, Martin Hannett really took what they were and imposed a vision on them, which I know. I mean, I just talking to Peter Hook last month. I just happened to bump into him as you do in Athens. And great gig, by the way.
Yeah.
Really, his band are brilliant.
Incredible.
He and Barney didn't like what Hannett had done. Hannett had imposed a vision on them. They weren't punky enough.
Yeah.
He basically, Martin Hannett invented gothic music with Unknown Pleasures, as far as I'm concerned. So I think we got a bit more moody and dark.
Interesting.
And obviously we did the song Stand Low about the oil refinery, and we did The Misunderstanding, and but we just happened to have this song on there about the aeroplane that dropped the atom bomb that sold 5 million records. That's and crazy. Went bang. You know, I remember the first time we went to Italy to do a TV show, they picked us up and they said, can we just do a quick press conference at the hotel before we go to the TV station? We went, press conference? Yeah, okay. Well, how many people are going to be there? 3. We get a room full of people.
Yeah.
And the first question is, so how does it feel to be number 1 in Italy? And we were like,
what?
Is this candid camera? And then, no, it was a surprise. We didn't want to tell you till you got. I was like, are we actually? Yes, you are.
Wow. That's
and I
crazy.
mean, Enola Gay was #1 in Italy and France for 3 months.
Wow.
It sold 1 million in each country.
Wow.
That's insane.
It was nuts. And it was a song that both Paul in the band and Paul, our manager, described as cheesy shit, and they didn't want it even on the album.
That's insane. Yeah. I mean, that song is a massive part of my childhood. It's I still listen back to that album now, and I just think, just a wonderful, wonderful record. And so quickly, as you say, put out from the two albums in 1 year.
We were so full of ideas.
Yeah.
It was. They gave us the money to build a recording studio. This was all we ever wanted.
Yeah.
Somewhere to make music. And it's like somebody just opened the dam and it all poured out.
That's
so crazy. And we, very quickly we did the second album, and then Enola Gay just was monstrous.
Yeah.
It was incredible.
And then 81, you go into Architecture and Morality.
Mm-hmm.
Widely considered a masterpiece. Tell us what was going on there. It seems like a slight move, a different tone.
Because we thought we were making art. Well, I did. Paul's more of a natural musician. I'm the pretentious one. We wanted to do everything had to be different. So the first album was like garage synth pop. The second album was a bit more sort of gothic. The third album, we wanted to get some new sounds, so we got ourselves a mellotron, which actually wasn't cutting edge, old tape machine mellotron, but the flutes off Strawberry Fields are played off a mellotron, So, I was into religious choral music, and the drums from bagpipe bands at the Edinburgh Military Tattoo, and I was going to make something out of this.
That's so good. Yeah.
So, in Souvenir, Malcolm, our drummer, wasn't allowed to play drums. We got a big military bass drum. He's going boom,
wow,
boom, boom, and the same on Maid of Orleans as well. It was the bass drum was a big military bass drum, and what sounds like bagpipes in Maid of Orleans is actually it's the violin sound off a mellotron, but it sounded like somebody was strangling a cat. It's sort of but it's. So we consciously made a different sounding record. And I think initially a lot of people were like, okay, well, what happened to the kind of bright, happy sounding electro pop? This has gone a bit more. But in the end, everybody loved it. And I mean, 3 top 5 singles.
Insane. And
the album sold like 4 million.
Yeah.
It was crazy. And we're still only 21 years old.
Yeah. It's insane.
It's the pace of the journey is incredible. And then after that, then we move into Dazzle Ships, which completely pushed boundaries in a way that caught people off guard. Yeah. And what was the sort of, were there active decisions behind that? We're going into the studio to do this in a certain way?
It sounds incredibly pretentious, but if I hadn't been pretentious, I wouldn't have done what I did. And I'm glad I did what I did. We thought that we were trying to change the world with music, like singing about airplanes that dropped atom bombs, singing about how electricity is created. Not just, ooh, baby, I love you.
Yeah.
Not lyrical cliches. New type of music, new type of lyric.
Yeah.
In hindsight, it just seems ridiculous now. But if we hadn't been those arrogant, pretentious, naive, nutty teenagers, we wouldn't have tried to do it.
Yeah.
So we went, right. Journalists said to us, "You want to change the world. Why are you singing about dead Catholic saints? Why don't you get more political?" I went, "That's what I'm going to do."
Nice.
And so I got my shortwave radio out. And you got to remember, it's still the Cold War.
Yeah.
Falklands War was just happening. And so I wanted to get more political. And so the whole album was more... And it was more stripped down as well. We didn't... People always used to say to us, you write these difficult songs, but the melodies are so infectious. And I went, you want to give people medicine, you have to put some sugar on it. We didn't put so much sugar on the Dazzle Ships album.
Yeah.
And I mean, the sleeve was amazing.
Incredible.
The concept was amazing. The concrete music of the title track, songs about genetic engineering. I was incredibly proud of it.
Yeah.
And it came out, and everybody kind of went, "Oh, that's just more than 15 minutes ahead of its time. Oh no, we don't like that."
Yeah.
And I mean, it charted in the top 5 just off the back of the but everybody was just like, it was too fractured, just too. I mean, nowadays everybody talks about it as a bloody masterpiece.
Yes, yeah. Which is what we were going to say.
But at the time, it was just too far ahead of its time.
How does it make you feel now? Like, it's so highly regarded now, you know?
I feel all right now, but it nearly killed my career at the time. I thought the joke, and of course we'd just gone from Dindisc for Virgin. We ended up on the parent company because Dindisc had gone bust because we were the only artists selling records. So we were on Virgin, and they didn't know us, and we didn't know them. And so they said, "Well, how does this work?" I said, "Well, we have our own studio. We write the album, then we phone you up and say we want to go into this studio to finish it with this person, and then amazingly, no matter how crazy our ideas are, we sell millions of records." And they went, "Okay, that sounds like a formula to us." So we just followed the formula with our crazy ideas. At this time, we fell off the edge of the cliff, and Virgin had this lovely joke that the Dazzle Ships album shipped gold and returned platinum. It was a catastrophe. It really was. But now, now everybody talks about it as being incredible. It made sense to us, you see, because the Radioactivity album by Kraftwerk was the blueprint for that. It was bits of sound, things, chopped up radios. We threw more politics in than Kraftwerk would have done, but interspersed with some great songs. I mean, Radio Waves was supposed to be the big hit. It was going to be the 3rd single.
Yeah.
But we released Genetic Engineering that everybody went, "What the fuck is that all about?"
Yeah.
And then Telegraph didn't work out, and we never got round to releasing Radio Waves because Maid of Orleans as the 3rd single off Architecture had been the big hit. So everybody was thinking, they're going to have 3 big hits, and the 3rd one will make it go to the 5 million.
Yeah.
And we never got to the 3rd one because everybody got freaked out. I mean, 40 years later, or 35 years later, we sell out the Royal Albert Hall by saying to everybody, "We're going to play the whole Dazzle Ships album." They're like, "We're having that.
We're there.
Will you be doing the semaphore flags?" "Yes, we will be doing the semaphore flags on stage." Yeah. What band comes out on stage and starts the first song with A B C A B?
It's so
we
good.
do.
Yeah.
The look on people's faces. Back in 1983, they were like,
What is going on? Brilliant. So then Junk Culture, it brought in a more accessible sort of pop-leaning sound. Is that off the back of, Dazzle Ships being so, artistic at the time?
Conscious and unconsciously, we kind of dialed because we were like, okay, we're 23 now, we might be washed up, has-beens. So consciously and unconsciously, we kind of dialed it down a bit. I mean, very good tunes.
Yeah, great tunes.
And 3 top 20 hit singles.
Amazing.
3 that we still play on tour.
Yeah.
But it was safer. We just had to be safer. Otherwise, we didn't have a job.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then we were reading as well, like when you then went on to do Crush, that had like a US audience in mind. Is that correct when you were writing that album for America?
Yeah, to some degree. We had, Junk Culture reclaimed some of the success, but the problem, we just weren't selling in America.
Okay.
Now, we just changed to a new label who wanted us to go from, and they said, "Look, there's an American producer in England who's done Pet Shop Boys and a New Order. Why don't you work with Stephen Hague? Maybe he'll just give you that slight sound that's more American." And of course, because we've been spending a lot of time in America, excuse me. Again, some of the subject matter was about American issues.
Yeah.
Not because we wanted to break America, but just because I was fascinated, because I was a kid from the Wirral Peninsula,
Yeah.
and suddenly I was going all over America, you know, and
impossible not to be fascinated.
And but also I'm fascinated, but also horrified. You know,
Yeah.
I'm writing songs like 88 Seconds in Greensboro about the Ku Klux Klan killing people and getting away with it. Women 3 about, you know, suburban paradise that's also misery, and just trying to digest American culture for better or for worse. I mean, I think a lot of people are fascinated by America, even now.
Yeah.
Not wholeheartedly loving it. It's just some of it is amazing, and some of it is like, what the fuck?
Yeah, you have to contend with it, right? There's no other alternative. You have to.
No.
Yeah.
So we were kind of digesting America, and we made this album, and it's just been re-released. It's just had its 40th anniversary, and actually, because we worked so hard on it, and we, at the time, from our English fans, we got criticism that it was, you're copying out, you're making an American sounding album for America and it doesn't sound English anymore. I had a sort of negative attitude about it, but I listened to it recently because we've just re-released it, and we put out some unreleased B-sides and things, and it was actually it was good. So I'm quite proud of that album. It was good.
I think it's a great record.
Thank you.
I listen to it like regularly. It's one of the ones that I really go back to on a regular basis. I like that album.
I mean, it is a very listenable album.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't challenge you like Dazzle Ships does, when it's like, you know, okay, we've got concrete sounds of ships and explosions and sirens and they've made a song out of synchronized speaking clocks. Is that music? Yes, it fucking is.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, in our books, it
I
absolutely
was.
is.
Yeah. So by the Pacific Age, then the band was deep into a more sort of commercial phase. Creatively, kind of what was happening around that time?
We were spending our entire lives in America.
Yeah.
We supported the Power Station. We supported the Thompson Twins. Wow. We supported Depeche Mode. That ended with the end of the 101 tour at the Rose Bowl in Pasadena, in front of 70,000 people. Wow. But, you know, in hindsight, we now say that, you know, we were trying to break America, but it kind of broke us.
Right.
Because we just never quite got to where we wanted to, and it was costing us so much money. Because we'd rushed into signing a deal when we were 19 years old.
Yeah.
It wasn't the best deal in the world.
Right.
And we kind of spent the rest of our lives repenting at our leisure, trying to get better percentage points.
Right.
I mean, you know, we didn't write songs and make records just for the money.
Yeah.
But you can't run a band without money. And I mean, at the end of the 80s, we had sold millions of records, both singles and albums, and we were skint. We came off the Depeche Mode tour, and our manager said, "You are unrecouped at Virgin by £1 million."
How does that even happen? That's crazy.
And I had not been buying castles and yachts.
Yeah.
Trust me.
Yeah.
It was just like, okay, so what do you? A best of album. We just got to do a best of album. That might clear the decks. We do a best of, and then by the time we'd done that, we'd run out of steam.
Right.
You know, and we were exhausted.
Yeah.
And frustrated.
It's been a long run.
Yeah, and
non-stop.
We couldn't afford to pay Malcolm and Martin in the band because we had no money. And you know, and I was living in a little cottage. Paul was living in a standard semi.
Yeah.
No, we weren't spending all our money.
Yeah.
It was just that Virgin were giving it with one hand and taking it back with five.
Wow.
You know, I mean, I just, again, it's not a sob story, but you can't. Conversely, Depeche Mode, who we just toured with, were making enough to retire on because they were on a 50-50 deal with Mute.
Interesting.
So once the costs were covered, they split the profit 50-50.
Right.
We were on 11 points on albums and 6 on singles.
Wow.
After costs, after deductions, paying for everything. And to give you an idea, Enola Gay sold 5 million. Singles weren't £1 then, but let's round it up to £1. So 100 pennies. We were on 6, so that was 6, right? Foreign sales, 2/3 royalty because it costs us so much money to collect them from. So 4 points. The producer was on 3 points, so we were on 1 penny. Out of which we had to pay for the recording costs and tour support and advances, and so it didn't go very far.
Yeah. Oh man, crazy. So then
we stopped at the end of the 90s.
Yeah.
We were just knackered.
Yeah. And you basically carried the OMD name through Sugar Tax and Liberator and Universal in the 90s. How different was it making those records sort of without Paul?
Very different, especially to begin with, because I'd never done anything without Paul since I was 16 years old.
That's crazy.
And now I was 30.
Yeah.
And I was ill, actually. I was the nearest I got to ever wanting to have a mental breakdown. I got so many psychosomatic diseases.
Wow.
I was just... I was a mess.
Yeah.
Sort of climbed out of the hole slowly. Met Stuart Kershaw and Lloyd Massett, who were in a band that their manager wanted me to produce. I didn't think I could produce them, but I liked them as songwriters. My nephew just walking past.
That's so good.
And just slowly started writing songs. And then Virgin said, "Yeah, this is. We think you can do this."
Yeah.
And
some big hits.
So, the Sugar Tax album came.
Yeah.
I mean, Sailing on the Seven Seas was a bit scary actually, because its first week in the chart, it was like 55, and I was like, "Ooh," and then it kind of
nice.
And it finally got to number 3.
Wow.
And and Sugar Tax really did kind of re-establish the band. But yeah, it was strange because it was just me.
Yeah.
It wasn't Paul and Malcolm and Martin.
Yeah.
And so, for 5 years, I carried on like that.
Yeah.
And then, of course, by the mid-90s, Britpop was in fashion, and everybody wanted to hear Blur and Oasis and Pulp, and a band that was considered a synth band from the early 80s was considered out of fashion, because you were still in this sort of like linear timeline. It wasn't quite the beginning. Well, it was actually the beginning of postmodernism, but nobody realised it. I mean, Oasis sounding like the Beatles was actually very postmodern, because there was nowhere new to go. So kind of popular culture started eating its own history. But so I stopped. My son was born in 95, and I thought, I don't want to be on the road and banging my head against a brick wall. Because the last song I wrote in the 90s was Walking on the Milky Way, which was one of the best songs I'd ever written in my life.
It's a great song.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's a great song.
Radio 1 wouldn't play it because it wasn't their target demographic. And because Radio 1 wouldn't play it, Woolworths wouldn't stock it. So it got to number 17 with both arms tied behind its back.
Yeah.
I did my last ever Top of the Pops. Coincided with the first ever live Top of the Pops of the Spice Girls.
Wow.
Maybe that dropped a seed into my mind, I don't know. Then I retired.
Yeah. Interesting.
At the age of 36.
That's crazy.
Wow.
That's crazy. And so then you do writing, you got into writing for other artists. And is this around the time of the Motor Museum? And
I had, I'd gone to work at the Motor Museum, and they were having difficulties financially, and so stupidly, I bought the studio because I wanted to record in there. And there's a very famous joke in the music industry about how do you make a small fortune? Invest a big one in a recording studio. But it was an amazing place to work. Hamby Harrow Lambert did an incredible job of designing and creating it.
Yeah.
And I loved working in there. And then I had a place to create and work with other people. And I tried to support some other younger artists. I tried to do things. And really out of that period of my retirement, the only thing that really was successful was Atomic Kitten.
Right. Interesting. And what was it like writing for other people? You find solace in that? It
was great fun.
Yeah.
I could just take off my kind of serious hat and just go, right, I just need to write a tune here.
Yeah.
And Stuart, who's the drummer in OMD now, had been taught music, could play anything, and he did the harmonies with the girls.
Yeah.
I would just get the lead line, and he'd go, right, Liz, so go, ha ha ha, and he would sing out the because I it's why I'm a lead singer. It's like I sing the lead, you follow me. Okay,
Yeah.
Can't do harmonies.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was fun.
Yeah.
Amazingly, banging our heads against a brick wall for about 18 months, and then suddenly Innocent Records wanted to sign them, and we did a day of 4 showcases in London, and the second one was Hugh Goldsmith from Innocent. He wanted to sign them.
Nice.
And then the third one was Mushroom Records, and Corda Marshall wanted to sign them. And then by the end of the next day, we'd had 5 offers.
Wow.
One from a girl who didn't like them, who was the first audition, and one from a record company who hadn't even been to the showcases. So suddenly there was a feeding frenzy, and they signed to my old label, Virgin.
No way.
Well, Innocent, which was part of Virgin.
Right.
Struggled.
Yeah.
Really struggled.
But then hits.
Finally had a hit with Whole Again. They were dropped.
Right.
They were dropped, and we bluffed Virgin into re-signing.
Wow.
We said to Virgin, you owe us 50,000 for delivering the album. And because they'd had 3 singles, and the album came out and it only got to 37, and the boss of Virgin just said to Innocent, you spent $1.5 million on this, get rid of them. And I said, okay, give us the catalogue back. We're going to release Whole Again as a single. And they were like, he went back to his boss and he said, he's waving £50,000 and says he's going to release a single on his own. He must have another label. Please let me have one more. Please let me have one more go. And they went, right, you've got 25 grand for the whole budget for the video, and no posters, no nothing. Just throw it against the wall, and if it doesn't stick, that's it. They're sacked.
And it stuck.
And they released Whole Again and went bang.
The best bluff.
I'm a jammy bastard. These things happen, you know. Yeah, they were dropped. The Kittens were dropped. And I mean, you know, and I have to say, you know, I mean, a lot of people don't like Kerry. I think she's amazing.
Yeah.
She's mad as toast and got terrible taste in men, but I love her to bits.
Yeah.
I wasn't in control of them for the second and the third album because I got my contract ripped up
Right.
by unscrupulous people. So I'm not responsible for what they became.
Yeah.
But the first Atomic Kitten album is fucking great.
It's
if I
a
say
great
so myself. It's absolutely banging.
I love it.
I wrote 5 top 20 hits on that album.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
It's great fun.
Yeah,
Oh, dude.
absolutely.
And then they just became a kind of pastiche of themselves, unfortunately, when I lost control over them, which was a shame.
That's super cool. Yeah.
Yeah, it was fun. And then I finally, after missing out on making another band famous that were even better than the Kittens, they had a lead singer who created the band, the best girl band you've never heard of.
Really?
Oh, wow.
Genie Queen.
Right.
Lead singer, founder member, Mrs. Peter Crouch.
No way.
Abby Clancy.
No way.
Abby Clancy. Everybody knows she can dance.
Yeah.
She can sing.
No way.
There we go.
Unbelievable lead singer. And that band were unbelievable. And girl bands have gone out of fashion. And finally, my jamminess didn't work for me. I could not get them a deal. Their album was unbelievable.
No way.
And then anyway, Abby met Peter and went, sod it, I've worked too hard now. I'm going to marry a football player. And I can't say I blame you, love.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we're hurtling forwards now to 2006, Andy. And what was that moment that made you and Paul go, hang on a second, we're not finished here. Let's pick this back up.
I think it was several issues. We were getting frustrated that because we'd stopped at the end of the 90s, the original band had, that we would kind of get left behind, forgotten band. Also, things were changing. People were starting to say to us, oh, you know, would you like to tour? Would you be interested in touring? You know, we were like, oh, nah, because nobody's going to want to see us. You know, everything's moved on now. Britpop has taken over. But then people are like, yeah, but it's postmodern era now. You know, and if you've got the quality, if you're considered iconic within your genre, people are still interested. And all right, we'll stick our toes back in the water. And we put 9 gigs on sale. They sold out. And we did 49 gigs on that tour in the end.
Wow. That's incredible. And so The History of the Modern was the first album back. What pushed you to get back in the studio?
I think after a couple of really enjoyable tours, playing to people who either had never had a chance to see us in the first place or people who'd seen us before and wanted to see us again, there was this sense that, is this all we're ever going to do now? Are we now a tribute band to ourselves? We're just going to keep playing the same songs. We're not going to do any new music. And because the original ethos was that we wanted to do new music, we just didn't feel comfortable. So we kind of made the kind of stupid, dangerous decision that we were going to try and make new music. And the History of Modern album was well received. The next one, English Electric, was even better received. And then Punishment to Luxury, even more well received. And now Bauhaus Staircase would have been number 1 if it wasn't for fucking Taylor Swift.
It's the highest charting album.
It is, isn't it nuts? Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
so
it only took us 45 years.
Incredible. And I mean, that album, the Bauhaus Staircase, it sounds urgent. It sounds... I listened to that and it's phenomenal. Like, the synth sounds that you're using are, like, futuristic. How does it work that you're futuristic at this point in your career?
Because I wanted to be.
Yeah.
You know, I sorry, it sounds big-headed, but, you know, there's an awful lot of my generation who... They make lazy albums and they just shouldn't. I'm sorry. I'm not going to name anybody. But it's just like, you know, they feel like they need to make a new album so they've got a new logo for the tour T-shirt, and that's the primary reason. And they make albums that are just bad pastiches of their former selves. Not everybody, but I just feel like, you know, if you're going to make an album, sweat on it. Put some effort into it, you know. And I mean, Bauhaus Staircase obviously came out of COVID, because there was nothing else to do. You weren't even allowed outside. So I just went, right, I'm in this computer. I have bits and pieces that have never, you know, I like that melody and I like that lyric, and I've got nothing else to do, Andrew. You can make something out of this. Come on, make something out of this. And so so myself and Paul Humphreys did 2 totally different. Squeaky chair, two totally different things in COVID. I sat in my programming room and beat myself up, and he bought a villa in the south of France and had a baby. I don't know which one of us was the more crazy, to be honest. But,
amazing.
But so it was a radical time. But Bauhaus Staircase. I had things to say. I had things to say. I was still angry. I mean, you know, I had to be very careful introducing the song Kleptocracy on stage in America this year, because
it's so on the nose.
I was so angry. But I wanted to be able to actually go and play my songs and not get arrested by ICE and thrown out of the country.
Which is a real possibility.
And Bauhaus Staircase itself, you know, was... you know, I was alluding to the fact that, you know, the Nazis shut down the Bauhaus Art School. And here we were in a pandemic when the Conservative government basically furloughed everybody except those in the performing arts. And even put up that fucking poster with that ballerina on it going, today she's a ballet dancer, next year she could be an IT expert. Basically saying, you know, anybody in the performing arts, your job is not a real job. I was fuming, as they say in Liverpool. So there was some emotional energy in that album, and I think people could hear it.
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely. And I guess it's art, isn't it? It's always like politically charged in some way, because it's that reflection of what's happening around us in society. And I guess art has always been a really important part of OMD, from the album covers to the song titles to how it's influenced you. Are there any particular artists or movements that have shaped you the most?
over the years, it's changed a lot. I mean, I was blessed up until a couple of years ago to have been a trustee for the National Museums of Liverpool for 12 years.
Wow.
4 years longer than you're supposed to be, but they kept me on, and it was just fascinating to give back and to see that go through the cutbacks in 2008-9 after the crash, to see that go through having to shut during COVID, and it just made me realise it's like, yes, you're in a pandemic. Yes, you need to take care of people. Yes, you've got to put a roof over your head and feed yourselves with food. But when you take away your art, you suddenly realise that your soul is not being nourished either.
Absolutely, yeah.
And we really realised how painful it was when we couldn't go to concerts or go to live music or dance or theatre or whatever. It's just it was painful. So art has always been a thing. Had I gone to do my degree in Leeds, by the way, back in 1978.
Yeah.
I would have been on the same sculpture course as Green Gartside from Scritti Politti.
Wow.
And Dave Ball and Mark Hartman from Soft Cell.
No way.
So I did joke with Mark actually a few years ago. I said, so would it have been a super group or a super ego clash? He went, yeah, probably the latter.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, I was into Turner, liked all those moody landscapes. I still love Turner. Then I got into conceptual art. And I was really into things that the Daily Telegraph doesn't think is art, and the Daily Mail definitely doesn't think is art, and shouldn't have grants spent on it. And it's probably made by illegal immigrants anyway, and single parent mothers. So I've just, Edward Hopper, the cover of the Crush album. The Bauhaus Staircases. Okay. I mean, the last two albums have been done by John Petch, who's a fantastic Liverpool painter, has done the two sleeves for the last two albums.
And they are incredible.
Yeah.
They are really good.
And we saw as well the phone box, which we touched on a little bit before with the light box. He did some graphics to kind of celebrate that and the restoration of it, right? Yeah,
he's kind of dazzled the phone box in Wells that used to be our office.
Yeah.
The BT took away, and then there was an outcry, and it got returned and turned into, I believe it's equal smallest museum in the UK. There's another telephone box that's a museum as well.
Amazing.
That was the phone box where I phoned up our manager, who'd phoned up the record company to be told Messages is in the top 20, the first top 20. Wow. And I was on my way to run to Paul, and I met him on the road, and we were jumping up and down as, like crazy kids. So, art has always been an integral part of me putting into my lyrics and into my inspiration.
That's amazing. So with everything that you've lived through, the highs, the experiments, the industry shifts, what advice, if any, would you pass on to young artists now?
Be an accountant.
Really?
No.
This is a common theme when we ask this question.
No. Get a good accountant and a good lawyer.
Yeah.
Definitely, because we had neither and we got shafted. It is hard.
Yeah.
It is really, really, really hard. I mean, I'm glad I'm not doing it now. Because when I was younger, there were parameters in place. There were clubs to play.
Yeah.
There were A&R men who were looking to sign new artists. The music industry was making money, so they were prepared to invest money because they saw it as linear. They kept having to find new things.
Yeah.
Nowadays, and this is a conversation I had with Katy Perry's manager. Said to me, "You have to demonstrate you've already lit the fire before a record company will pay for extra fuel."
Yeah.
And that is the truth, And I've seen it. Next generation in the McCluskey family. Sadly, my son has given up, and my nephew is in so many different bands. One day it'll happen.
Nice.
He's sitting over there. And so, I mean, you have to be incredibly tenacious.
Yeah.
You've got to, we were lucky. The first crazy idea we had, we hit the jackpot.
That's
we got
great.
the golden ticket.
Yeah.
Everybody else, if you fall at the first hurdle, which you probably will, you've just got to get up and keep trying. And because most people have a story of a long, hard, grinding apprenticeship of failures, and hopefully they'll get there in the end. We never went through all that apprenticeship of failure. We just got jammy.
Oh, and it's the jammy stories that give us all hope. It's great. And then, Andy, finally, who are you listening to right now? Like, where do you draw some inspiration from the music at the moment?
I got to be honest, I'm going through a phase at the moment where I'm gone back with my hot water bottle, hugging my teddy. I'm just back in the stuff that I was listening. Everybody. The most important music in your life generally is the soundtrack from your journey from childhood to adulthood.
Yeah.
And so I still get great delight in listening to people like Kraftwerk and Neu and the Velvet Underground and David Bowie and Brian Eno and Roxy Music. But you know what? They still sound modern.
Yeah.
So true. It's timeless. It really is. Amazing. Well, thank you so much for your time today, Andy. I know we could have spent far, far longer diving into albums. We'd have loved to have kept you here for more hours. But no,
thank you very much.
Thank you. We appreciate your time so much. And thank you for all the music.
Yeah.
Okay, well, you know what? If I hadn't been texting Will Sargent when he was coming down here to talk to you guys, and he put me on to you guys. So there you go. Good old Will.
Yeah.
Thank you, Will, as well.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Thank you so much for watching. We hope you enjoyed that. We'll be back. We're not too sure when, but we'll let you know when. But I hope you enjoyed this special episode just outside of the season. And thanks for listening. And thank you, Andy.